I just think your immediate response is not always something that you will eventually believe in with the same amount of conviction. I think it's so easy to, especially things like Twitter. I don't use Twitter anymore. I think that Twitter encourages people to respond to things that are happening in real time. And once you've shared your opinion, you kind of then have to defend it. And that's such an unnatural way of communicating.
Wow. Were there any specific events that led to you stopping using Twitter?
I saw, what did I see?
Is this a stance that you're taking against Elon?
No. This was decided long before Elon. But what I'm trying to think of an example I saw the other day. Someone had tweeted about their, like, oh, you can tell the cost of living crisis in the UK is going up because my gym membership just increased from £50 a month to £60 a month. Immediately, someone quote tweets it saying, who the hell is paying £50 a month for gym membership in the first place? Like, serves you right. And I just think, oh my gosh, let's just chill out. We don't always need to catch someone out and make someone else look silly, like make someone the butt of the joke. And I feel like Twitter and quote tweet culture kind of breeds that.
Now, how do you feel that this is different from the comment section on TikTok?
Yeah, I think like a quote tweet or a duet means that you're introduced to the commentary before the original piece of content, and that's quite dangerous.
Wow.
I think that you kind of sometimes you need to like consume the piece of content and then read the commentary afterwards, so you have time to formulate your opinion, your response, and understand that what you're consuming is someone else's response to it. I feel like the quote tweet is designed to make someone else look a fool, like someone else becomes the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's necessary, obviously, to share another perspective, of course. I just think that the way that it operates right now is just it creates binaries where there aren't always binaries. It creates dichotomies where there don't need to be. When you go from like, this person has this opinion, I have the exact opposite. There's like a little middle ground, but the exact opposite is what's going to get the traction and the retweets and the likes and the views and the comments. So that side of things, I just stay clear of. I have my like duets and stitches on TikTok turned off, so people can't duet my stuff. Because I'm like, don't make me look a fool without the context, I'll be a fool on my own terms. Thank you very much. So, and yeah, for me, Twitter was just like no longer a conducive space.
This was like a build-up over time, or it just kind of all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I just think I realized after a while that it was making me feel that I had to have a response to things so immediately, when actually sometimes you need to just go and reflect and ruminate on something and let it sit for a little bit before you type out. And also, character limits mean that you give a very punchy response, and so you resort to superlatives. Everything is pure evil. Nothing is like, oh, I don't really quite agree with that. It's like, this is deplorable.
That's the fastest way to make yourself look like a fool too. Just to completely get swept up in the emotion.
But naturally, social media, we're talking about how much content there is all the time. Superlatives sell, so when you have a video that's called like the best books I read this year versus like some books I liked. Do you know what I mean? It's like the vocabulary is different. You see it in just like Instagram comment section where someone posts a selfie and the comments are like, you are the most beautiful specimen I ever laid my eyes on. Or people will be like, my body just learned to impregnate itself just from looking at it. Do you know what I mean? That's extreme. But words like queen, king, legend, like these are actually very strong words, but we're so used to using them in just like really common vernacular vocabulary. Like we just use them so regularly.
And we have devalued the word love too. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
It's become a synonym for like, and it's really not the same.
True.
I remember, I don't speak much German at all. I know words and phrases, but the word Liebe, it seems to be more powerful in German than the equivalent in English of love.
Okay. Why is that? Is that because there are other words between like and love, or?
I'm not exactly sure, but I do remember Germans reacting differently to those words.
You know, an example in French is like when I'm speaking English, I would often describe something as like perfect, you know? So if I go to a restaurant and someone's like, hey, is this table good? I'm like, oh, it's perfect. And I found that when I was in France and I'd say like parfait, it's like not common to say that as a response to things. It's like that's a very strong response that I don't think you would hear a French person use.
Yeah.
Whereas like me translating my vocabulary into French, the sentiment of what I want to say is like, this is
great.
exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And in English, I would say like, oh, it's perfect. You know, I feel like, oh, like this space you've created is perfect.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe a French person wouldn't use such a strong word.
I think I agree with you. It's just, little reminders that you can't translate from one language to another, even if you have words that are similar, because the use isn't necessarily the same. Do people ask you to be, going back to Twitter, do people ask you to be on there? Like, do you get comments or messages from
Not
people being
really.
like, I need the hot takes? Or are you
No.
just doing enough of that elsewhere that there was no impact?
I really feel that if I feel like maybe we feel too self-important of like, my presence on this app is required. Like, it's not. You can literally do whatever just suits you best. I don't think so. I just use that platform really to just share publishing news and things that are happening in the space. Just basically, I would just now use my platform to amplify other voices more than my own.
Totally.
I think.